That probably cut me off. Hi, hello, pod people. I hope you're having a good day. Food, water, everything you need to get done. I've been doing starting soon screens lately, but I want to try coming back to doing the just general hanging out, chatting intros. I like this a lot more. Also, it's less for me to edit. So that is absolutely fantastic. And is that doing okay? Because we are also dual streaming to YouTube, and I gotta make sure that's all fine and dandy. And I have that up above that. There we go. Fantastic. So, I lost the hardcore. That's what we started up last week, and we streamed it last week. I did not stream Sunday because that was Easter, and as well as my mother's birthday. That I was hanging out and spending time with her. And I lost it. Somehow this week, Easter was chaos. I have a very large family. No, the streak. That sucks, Billy Bob. How? Because why are you not here for the hardcore last week? I thought you were. Because I haven't streamed since. Yeah, because I didn't stream on Easter. Easter was chaos. Oh, okay, never mind. I swore you were. Never mind. I don't know then. Easter was absolute chaos. I have a very large family. And I was also finishing editing the video for Sunday that same time because before I failed the current hardcore that we had been doing, I failed one before that. That was supposed to be the video, so I had to scramble to do a new one last minute. And that lost footage is going to be posted on the second channel this Wednesday. And so I am scrambling to get the video done. People are supposed to show up 9, almost about 10 a.m. And of course my grandpa also shows up early, so I'm scrambling to finish editing. Thankfully I got it all done, I got it finished, got it uploaded. And we hosted Easter, as well as my mom's birthday, from about 10 a.m. The last person left at 7 p.m. So you can tell how my day went. Discord call for 9 hours. That's when you know it was a good gaming sesh. Let me turn down the live music a little more. Sadly, YouTube is not allowed to have live music. YouTube does not like saving, does not like having separate tracks for VODs. I have in fact tried. But yeah, Easter is both sides of my family, so it's very chaotic. Plus my mom's birthday. So very chaotic. My dad's side of the family, you can guarantee that everybody's going to show up within roughly around the correct time. And you're going to be there. Everybody's going to be talking to each other for about 2 hours. It's going to be absolute chaos. Then we're going to have an hour-long goodbye. And then you can go do whatever the hell else you had planned that day. My mom's side of the family, you don't plan anything else. It is going to be a 12-hour gossip sesh supplemented by the potluck. And that's how that goes. At 6 hours, me and my friends switched to Roblox. Fair. I've actually went through, I talked about this one of the last streams. I can't remember when I talked about it. I remember seeing it when I was editing a stream. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do that. I think it might have been the Terra Swoop Force I was editing. There was a game on Roblox. I say was for a reason. It's still there. I'm just finished playing it, basically. There's a game called Abyss World. It is a niche, what's the word I want? Gimmick parkour. It's a gimmick parkour where you have to charge jump everything. The normal jump mechanic, gone. You have to charge jump everything. And it goes like, I think some 3,500 meters deep or something. There's a whole scoreboard for how deep down you go, and it's 13 different checkpoints. Okay, heading out. Bye-bye, Billy Bob. And it's interesting the first time you go through. I guarantee you, after you make it all the way to what is currently the end, the 13th checkpoint, it is far easier the second time around. Ages ago, I slowly went through the game, it took me a month to get from between 12 and checkpoint 13, but I did finally do it. And so the past week, I've been going through, and I went through the adventure mode. I've previously played the casual mode. You can die as many times as you want. Adventure mode, if you die too much, you have to completely restart. However, each checkpoint, you do get 10 extra lives the first time you reach it. And you can also do challenges for more lives. I apparently had already played adventure mode at some point, at least a little bit, before I realized I could do casual, or maybe I played adventure mode first and then clicked casual one day. I think that's what happened. So I was already somewhat through it, and I had like 50 lives. And I ended the game with over 100. I think it was like 105. Apparently I've learned enough shortcuts and workarounds for a lot of this, and a lot of how the game like hides different secrets and such, that I fully skipped a checkpoint. I went from 9. No, I think I went from 10 to 12. Or maybe it was 9 to 11. But I completely skipped one of the checkpoints. And I'm like, where did this come from? Where did this go? Apparently, one of the shortcuts I was taking completely bypassed a checkpoint. And so I'm like, oh, this is a really long area. It's taking me forever to get through here. It's because I skipped the checkpoint. I kept skipping it habitually, and I just eventually looked it up. It's like, oh my god. It's the spot that I paused at, and it was like, there's supposed to be a checkpoint here. I don't see a checkpoint. It was down below me. Because I skipped to get up higher, faster. Because I didn't want to deal with the frickin' fox monster. But yeah, Easter was chaos. The last person left at 7 p.m. Sugar Cookie, this is my best friend, who I refer to as Sugar Cookie on the streams. She was the last person to leave, one of the first people to show up, and she got to see the whole chaos of my family. And we even took a break and just hung out in my room for a couple hours, took a nap, and then came back out. It was fantastic. Because at the end of the day, it's literally like 2 or 3 groups is what will happen with my mom's side of the family. And we're all slowly gossiping, and occasionally the groups will start talking with each other again, and by the end of it, we're all just one slightly bigger group. And it's fantastic. For context of how late this can go, one time we left my aunt's house at past midnight, and she lives like several hours, like not several hours. It is over an hour, but she lives quite a bit away. So that was fun. We had next to no traffic though, that's great. But I have managed to successfully fail successfully this week. Not sure how. I was debating after posting the first Amalgamation Hardcore episode if I wanted to do a second episode this week, which is what's coming out tomorrow at 12 p.m., or do a how-to. So I did both, and I very quickly, in about a little over a day, scrambled together and made a very short, jokey how-to. And this is fully, hopefully, payback for one of my the first authentic viral video, because currently my most popular one, I have a feeling it's just because it's the first time I collaborated with someone else on the channel, which is currently sitting on like 4.7k views, something like that. My first viral video was a shit post of how to not start a world, because I was supposed to do 100 days and I spent 30 days procrastinating instead. And so I wasted a bunch of time in that world, and I posted about it jokingly. For some reason, people loved it. Probably because it was a short video when shorts were starting to get really going. It wasn't in the shorts format, but it was like a 2-minute video. And so this is somewhat a hit back against that. So we'll see how that does. It's doing better than the videos my videos are currently doing. And I can't sit like that. My hip hates that. I just want to sit awkwardly. Thank you. So I started working on that Tuesday. I made a quick little script. I edited it. I did the voiceover. I started planning out scenes. I recorded the scenes. And I'm like, okay, I'm burned out for the day. I'm going to edit tomorrow. And quickly slapped together the edit tomorrow and barely get it out in time, literally minutes after I was supposed to post. I think it's officially posted like 12:07 or something. And then I think it was Wednesday night or Thursday. I have a feeling it was Wednesday night. That sounds about right. That I'm like, okay, let me AFK the chicken farm for a little while on the hardcore so I can get levels up and we can just go beat the dragon because I want to have at least 100 health and 50 damage. I was sitting at the chicken farm. I had been playing Abyss World, so I had it off to the side, but I was safe. And I can hear a zombie over it. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So I open it up, I check with FreeCam, hey, there's a zombie outside and there's a chicken out there. Okay, let me go grab the chicken. I go down, I take a bunch of damage, and I'm like, did the game lag? Because I'm still in a block, I'm a phantom. I'm still in a block and I'm trying to get down to the next level. And the moment I think that, I die. Because there is a zombie that had gotten in, because it's hardcore, so zombies can break doors. And I had forgotten. I had thought about it previously. I had done so previously, but I forgot to block the door. So I lost the hardcore just like that, and it wasn't even recorded. So the video's mostly last week's stream, admittedly. And then me talking about that and showing off some of the things I did do in between. Because there were some things that were recorded. I had a Ascendant zombie spawn in, which is a really overpowered zombie. It has a shit ton of status effects. And I had to find the mofo. Because it doesn't tell you where it is, and it has a giant boss bar at the top of your screen that you can't get rid of. It doesn't despawn. So I had to figure out how to find the mofo and then safely kill the mofo without myself getting killed. Only to get killed by a normal zombie. So, to the point, I want to test today. Today we're testing. We've done overpowered zombie farms in the past on Amalgamation. Those can be extremely dangerous, and it's been the reason I lost some hardcores even. It's the reason I had a bunch of failed runs for the one-punch challenge that I was trying to do, where I one-punched all the bosses in hardcore. Chicken farms are so slow that I become a danger to myself. So, can I trade out quality for extreme quantity? I want to go into Dungeon Crawl. That's one of the mods we have. And it's a structure we see very often. It's the little tower structure of a giant dungeon, multi-layered dungeon below. I want to go into that and make a shit ton of spawner farms. As a large, singular spawner farm as I can possibly manage. As efficient as I can manage as well. I want to make it as efficient as possible. And as large as I can possibly manage. And we'll see if extreme quantity actually makes up for quality. And if that's safer. I'm not going to do this specifically in hardcore, so we can measure a little bit like how much this would be detrimental to me. And if I die, I don't have to completely restart. But if this is really good, then I'm tempted to do another hardcore. I have no idea if this will be a video. If it is, it's going on the second channel, or hey, it's made it to a mini video in the middle of the week on the main channel. If so, subscribe. And comment this is madness, because I'm doing that for some reason. I said it randomly in the lost footage. I don't think I said it again in the actual video itself, in the actual hardcore video that did get posted. It might have. I don't remember. Well, don't leave a like. That's the thing. But we're like 15 minutes in. Let me actually move over to gameplay. Thank you. There you go. You see Leroy Dragons. Oh, and today's drink of the day is sweet tea. I made a big old pitcher. Farm, yep. That's all I need. that's all I need. Also, I'm like 99% sure of this. I want to test something. Because I'm pretty sure I can be Hatsune Miku. I'm pretty sure you can. Just straight up. And this is when it's going to take a million years to load this. So this is when I get to talk about Passion SMP that's happening tomorrow. And if you are seeing the VOD, it's already happened. So that VOD will be up tomorrow if you're on the VOD channel. If you're watching the VOD on Twitch, it's probably already up. If you're watching this the day of, it's the first day of Passion SMP Season 3 is April 12th. I will be streaming it at 7 PM PST, my normal time. We will not be starting at that time. We're going to be starting way earlier in the day, and I am not recording at 7 AM. Or streaming at 7 AM. I am recording at 7 AM. I'm not streaming at 7 AM, though. No, thank you. All respect to Misty for that. Granted, she has a completely different schedule. Oh, lovely. My VTuber's lagging, because it hates me loading the world. There we go. Little bit better. Just a little bit. And there's I'm tempted to rig the VTuber a little bit, because I look over to the right so much, and it looks so awkward. What if hold on. You know what we're gonna do about this? I'm gonna move this about. And then what we're gonna do about this. Is this correct? Yeah. Oh, but then it's wrong on the shirt. And it don't look right. That sucks. Well. That do suck for me, don't it? I'm just gonna have to rig him, apparently. Then or I move myself to a different corner, but I really like being down here in the bottom right, so. We're gonna go with vanilla, so we're just gonna use the vanilla player model. I am pretty certain, select closed library. Hatsune Miku! Okay, now we know how to be Hatsune Miku. Can I select one that doesn't interfere? Is there not a bald option? Where's the bald? There we go! I think that hides all hair. Nice! Hatsune Miku. Yeah, hair's hidden. I thought that'd just be funny. So it's select close in library, and then people have made a lot of different if it loads. That is if it loads at all. Library? No, I'm not allowed to select one. I'm not allowed to select one now that I'm Hatsune Miku. Okay. Cool. Anyway, that's how you find it. We're Hatsune Miku now. I don't want to be far out. I don't need the ancient city. It's fantastic. I love it. We don't need the ancient city. I'm gonna find it eventually anyway. Oh, I have my thing down because of screenshots. Pigs, Waystone Towers, which is gonna be really good. Is there any... I don't see Dungeon Crawl anywhere near. Windswept Hills ain't the greatest place to be, but it is certainly a place to be. So we're gonna find out how well this damn deer does. And I can't see YouTube chat again. It's very upset. Anytime I move around tabs on my second monitor, it just makes YouTube chat disappear. Disappear? Lucky Scarf! And 2 iron, even more stuff. Boop, I can't, I need a pickaxe to get cobblestone to make a furnace. In order to get food. I need food to get the stuff for pickaxe. Unless I want to make a wood one. Which we're probably going to need to do. I'll just use the wood in order to smelt something for me. So I'm assuming that... Oh no, there is... Okay. We're gonna very tactfully, carefully. Please. Okay. That's not... I was hoping there was gonna be a piece of coal under that. There was not. But this is okay. I can deal with it. Take that. Better drop the coal. Thank you. Fantastic. And then boop. Furnace. Boop. Boop. We're not actually gonna do that. We're gonna make a meat bundle. My beloved. That was a poor choice, now that I think about it. But we're gonna deal with it. Because now I should have really just stuck with it. But my poor choice is my poor choice, and we're gonna run back over. And I'm gonna make sure I have a little extra meat. I'm probably wasting time doing this. Because what I'm hoping is there's another piece of iron up there. And then I can immediately go on to make an iron pickaxe and make our lives infinitely better immediately. Or there will already be an iron pickaxe in this loot. Considering I am mostly armored already. Okay, what are you? Ender Pearl, Punch and Protection, Iron, there we go. You know, we're not going to the end. Boop. I should have done that farther. That would have been so much more helpful if I did. Infinitely more. And there was a piece of iron we saw back there, iron ore. That's the only one I'm really seeing. There's a piece of emerald over there. There we go. And where's my hidey hole? Here. Blink. And then we make iron pickaxe. And I can also make an iron claw, my weapon of choice. I can now also make 2 more meat bundles. And smelt that. And with what I got left, we're gonna come over here, give me the iron. This is fairly close to me speedrunning this. Oh, there's iron over there. Okay. So we need just more food before we do that. Just a little bit here. Is it enough? It is enough that I can make a second claw. Is that just that piece? Seemingly so. Always check the corners. Thank you. Plus that gives me extra to work with right now. Extra cobblestone. Smelt all that before I run out of it. We got multiple iron boots where we can smelt one of these. We're gonna go so like that. Not too bad of a start. Windswept hills. There's something over there. It's just out of my render distance. I think we're gonna go over to that. I need to smelt that first while I still can. Acacia, that's something. Smooth stone slab? That thing, that has XP. I'm not seeing anything else. That's another one of the same structure. That's a waystone up there. So that may have loot for me. Oh. I can use a singular stick more than I can use a singular plank. And with the extra, it'll allow me... I think that'll get me 1 pork chop. No. No, it's not. Okay. I tried. Place that there for the moment. You know what? We'll get more iron. I need the... I can't even make the axe. I can't make claws either because I don't have the wood. I would if I could. And that is when we do the same thing we did earlier. Blanks, give. I prefer a weapon more than an axe right now. Or I could just make a stone axe. That is absolutely an option to my disposal. Back into phantom mode, there we go, and that gives me more sticks. There's a lot more mobby moos. I didn't even mean for that to be a pun, it just was. Bonk. And that also gives me some levels, so we can get some health. Please. Oh yeah, but since I failed the hardcore so abruptly, I just kind of had the rest of the week to be very lackadaisical. I finished editing the hardcore video several days ago, actually. You know what? Now I'm wearing the chicken head. We're gonna stick with it. Being a phantom drains a lot of food, so we just need literally all the food we can come across. As many meat bundles as I could possibly manage. We're still gonna go over to the waystone. I'm gonna come over here first because we're closer to it. And I'm gonna let that dip to 3.5 if possible before I eat the meat bundle. There we go. Lots of iron. I don't need the wheat seeds, pumpkin seeds. I'm barely covered right here. Is there any loot up there? Yes, there is. I know how you work. Cake! Very good. Very, very good. I'll take a carrot as well. It's not enough gold. I can make another golden carrot. I forgot I had the chicken head on already. I feel like I'm going to continuously forget that. That's a ruin. That's a structure over there. Forest over there. Llamas. Not seeing any iron. Only copper. Warp. I imagine that acts like a ender pearl? Why am I grabbing gunpowder? I don't need gunpowder. I do need coal. I will take the bread. As far as I'm aware, we're not going to need a name tag for any of these farms. I'm not making an iron farm. I'm making an XP farm. What did iron golems would not be a good XP farm. They don't take fall damage. You'd have to burn them to a specific amount in order for that to be effective. Why was I attacking things with my axe earlier? I have my claws. And now I'm burning. Fantastic. Lovely. Thanks. What's going on in here? Oh, you're a zombie. Okay. String. Red. This is good enough place as any. It'll be night in but a moment. Usually in hardcore, I'd immediately get myself to sleep. We don't necessarily need to do that because it's not hardcore. I wasn't putting that in my other hand. Yeah, and that is all the loot here? Okay. I have no idea what the structure is. Those doors are placed wrong. Oh, it's that thing on the edge. I am so excited for Season 3 tomorrow, of Passion SMP. I am genuinely extremely excited for it. I got the server set up today, which was basically all I had to do today, aside from I was supposed to edit the lost footage. I did not. Granted, it's edited. It just needs music. I feel like I'm still like half in denial. I'm still in grief from that first hardcore. I loved it. It was a fantastic. It was literally the perfect seed. Anything and everything I wanted was nearby to spawn. Except the stronghold. That was the only thing that wasn't. And of course, 2 steps into the stronghold, I die. Because I walked through a wall and I didn't know there was a zombie on the other side. So currently, Zombies have me beat 2-0 in killing my hardcores. And that is why we're making a zombie farm. I forgot for a second this wasn't hardcore. I full-heartedly forgot. That's just rude. I'm adding levels while I'm waiting for him to walk to me. This gives the same energy of... we have a catio in the backyard. Little, like, secluded cat area they come through. They have a little cat door in the window. That's very adorable. No. And one of our cats, Jenny, and my cat, Dusty. Dusty's a very friendly cat. However, he doesn't want to be friends with Jenny because Jenny's a Maine Coon. Not that she's mean to him. She's just big and scary to him. Oh, you're fighting that. Okay. Stop spawning. Like, you're giving me XP, but chill out, please. Thanks. And I need one more piece of string if I want to make a bedroll. Hey! A piece of string! Hi, Bookish. I see the little daily cranberry. Thank you. Jeb? Get out of here. That was almost bad. Good thing I barely had enough health for it. We can eat the bread. Eat the breads. Yes, yes, yes. Do I have enough string? No, of course I don't. String? Thank you, Bookish. Freaking people, out of my face. Out of here. Out of here, out of here. Gonna lurk? Okay, have a good day. Thank you for the lurk. Enderman's just chopping up everything for me. No, thank you, don't. Please be not a Stormcloak. Stormtrooper, thank you. That's the correct name, right? I think. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't interacted with anything Star Wars in so long. I still don't have another piece of string. I just want a bed. Oh wait, piece of string. That is absolutely an easy option. This is another person I'm waiting on to respond because we had a late-minute person that wanted to join PSMP. I'm still waiting on the response, so I have a feeling they're not actually going to be there for day one, considering it's at 7 a.m. Unless by pure chance they happen to be awake at the time we're getting started and they message me back. Okay, good reactions. Good, noted. I have a good reaction when I suddenly get attacked. Why and how are you up there? Were you just, like, scanning for me? What was that? No. Not allowed to touch. Tis not allowed. Oop. Meat bundle to cook. I can cook potatoes. I do not have wood. Gonna make a campfire. Excuse me, sir. Out of my face. Thank you. Thank you very kindly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's a little bit more than I want. Out of here. I'm trying to exist. Oh wait, I should just use the bedroll. After I make food. After I make food. Boop. And boop, boop, boop. Boop. Thank you. Campfire. Boop. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world been turning. Hey, Enderboy, can you please just attack this man in front of me? No. Well, that sucks for you, bro. Potato. Potato. Pretty, please. Thank you. You take forever. This was the nice thing about recording Amalgamation, because there's a fair amount of things I gotta wait. Thank you for the hydrate. Shall drink more of my tea. And a little bit of water. I don't have anything with Silk Touch, so we're just gonna break it. I could have carried it with me now I think about it. Oh well. That is the nice thing about recording hardcore, because there's so many times I stop to smelt things and I gotta sit down for a second and entertain stream. I'm like, this topic, I could talk about this going on right now. And you'd be amazed how often I'm scrambling to do it. Now that I've said it, you're probably gonna notice it way more, because synchronicities and all that. I have the pickaxes. I need to go back and grab those waystones. The bread. Redstone dust in case we don't find a dungeon crawl dungeon. I imagine we would. They spawn in fairly often. I have no doubts we're gonna find one. It's just a matter of how long it takes for me to do so. Oh, bro's looking cool. Not anymore. Oh, he dropped your head. Now I'm looking cool. Bonk. I'm gonna forget I have this head on now. It's gonna happen, I guarantee it. Half the time my character's invisible, so it's just gonna happen. Certainly looks interesting, though. Can I eat bread? Thank you. Let me grab one waystone. And we slowly go back down. Very, very, very slowly. Very, very. Thank you. And a book. Piggy! Yeah! Back in one piece. This is not One Piece, this is Amalgamation. I kind of need just a little bit more out of you. Please and thank you. I've already been doing the One Piece. I've been uploading one hardcore at a time. Very unfortunately so. It's always the frickin' zombies. Anyway, my grievances aside. Right, I already checked these. It's gonna be sunrise in but a moment, so we're gonna stay in phantom mode from now on, which is gonna drain a bunch of my hunger, but we're gonna do what we can. Have I seen any... Is this gonna allude to anything I haven't actually seen myself? No. Sometimes the journey map's way better at actually picking up stuff than I am. So let's zoom out that a little bit more, so perhaps I can actually spot something. I'm so excited for people to see the Season 3 world tomorrow. It is a fantastic spawn. We have basically everything we could want nearby. The only thing that is slightly elusive is the Badlands. You know, we're gonna... Well, why not? We're gonna take another one. Why not? The only thing that's... Oh my god. The only thing that's slightly elusive is the Badlands and technically the jungle. I thought we didn't have one nearby. But while I was looking around and showing it off a little bit, I realized, oh hey, actually, there is one nearby. It's just really frickin' tiny. There's two of them, and they're just extremely tiny. They're smaller than my base was in Season 2. They're smaller than my starter base was. I think it's even smaller than my shop. I think the shop I made, Dirt Cheap, was even smaller than my base. Pretty sure of it. And of course, my computer is very unhappy about me running around in modded Minecraft and streaming, but it's gonna deal. Technically, we're dual streaming, so it makes it even more upset. And technically, YouTube is also dual streaming, so it's currently YouTube is also, you're able to see it on shorts. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, why not? I'll try it. I'm getting better about this. I have not been good about this in the past. I'm trying to adopt a mindset more so of, you know what? Let's give it a shot. I want to try and give this better of the doubt, which is not always the best thing, but I mean this less so for people. I have to, like, change my ideals on this. That is, not let people take a second chance when they really shouldn't need it. And also actually being more open-minded to different things. That is, I am a picky mofo when it comes to mods, and I need to actually, okay, sit down, let's give this a try first. Give a try to new things, stop letting people have second tries. Hi, Mew. Hello, Wolfie. How are you? We are trying out a new strategy for Amalgamation, because it's been tickling my brain, and I'm very curious if this is actually going to be better. Boop, boop. I don't need that. I am hoarding leather and string in the hopes of making a backpack soonish. Perhaps. I'm using really old headphones because my headphones that I'm using broke. Ooh. Thank you, Nightbot. I gotta switch back and forth. I'm probably gonna need to switch my headphones several times tomorrow. I currently have 2 pairs that I use. There's the main ones I use every day, which are over-ear headphones. But the charging port is magnetic. And so when I use it for long periods of time, it heats up. And the charging port's on the inside of the headphone, so it rests against my skin. So little magnets are heating up against my skin, and you can imagine how that is not good. So I have another pair of just like general, big, chunky over-the-ear headphones. But they're old enough that they're kind of like shedding everywhere. Because I'm pretty sure I've had these things since high school. I hate that it's not a super long time ago, but it's still a bit ago. I'm not sure how to feel about that one. What's over here? Is thing I need over here? We're looking for a very specific dungeon. I have a feeling I'm just gonna need to make a compass for it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come down here, Rule of Cool. I will use this if I see fit. There's graveyard down there. There's stuff over here. I would have seen it with journey map anyway. If it helps me find stuff for stream, stuff for content, I will use it. Hello, Mimic. Also, the Mimic kind of gave it away as well. And we do not touch the corpses. Got me too many times. The magnet actually sucks. I used that in one of the hardcores. I can't remember when, where, how, why. Iron. Oh my god. Yes, please. No, it's a blast furnace I need for that. But I can start getting that going. Let's actually split that in half. Boop, 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 boop. And then you are also a mimic, my good friend. Can you just stay right there? Pretty please, thank you. Kitty slippers! I'll take those, they're cute. And now I'm gonna sound like a cat every time I take damage. I'm not sure if that's a good thing. You know what we're gonna do with this one? We're gonna cook up 7 pieces of cobblestone. For a secret tool that'll help us later. A secret Muska tool. I don't know why I'm bringing this back. I said that in a random video. I don't think or a random stream. I don't even think it made it into a video. Apparently I'm bringing it back. And plenty of iron, a little bit of stone. I am not wearing pants. Let's add pants. Pump. There we go. I am sorry, Lat's head. I don't have enough to do that. Never mind. Now I do. That is not the correct thing. Thank you. And we are also going to steal the smithing table. That is useful. And boop. And now this can be made into this. And this is almost done smelting up. Bloody lovely. Bloody fantastic. Absolutely lovely. We got a... My brain's still circling back to this because it's literally less than 12 hours before, words. I never have them. Before we start season 3, so my brain's still on it and thinking about it. I am so excited for it. Because it's such a new version, we're going to be playing on 26.1, which is only a few weeks old. We're a lot more limited on the mods we can add, but even still, we have a fair amount of mods, some new, some old, some we weren't able to have before because it was breaking. So Misty finally gets her wind chimes that she wanted last season and wasn't able to have. I should have done the bricks first. That is a hazard on my part. Oh wait, hold on. You know what? Forget the bricks. We're gonna do splitting this in half. Hello, Shadow. I believe I had yes, I see. I will miss. We were actually actively talking about Passanicity in this moment. Hello, hi. I will be able to properly talk with you because I want to. We're literally starting tomorrow, so I want to make sure you're cool that we're starting at 7 a.m. or my time, less than 12 hours from now, 11 hours from now. So we will get you onboarded if you are still interested and willing to participate in such a early awakening. Granted, I got very lucky with how this timed out, because I've been wanting to make more time for me to do writing. So for me, this has been... do I have everything you need? Yes, I do. We're going to pause my explanation, because I need to make a compass, and I don't have the rest of the stuff to do that, so we're going to ignore the pause and carry on. Do I need more iron? I will want hoppers, so we're going to take it. I know I have the iron blocks I need to smelt. We can do that once we find the dungeon I wish for. What time zone? 7 a.m. PST, which I believe... is... I think it's CST that's 2 hours ahead of me. I'm trying to remember all the different... Hold on, I literally have an app for this, or website for this. There's a website called World Clock if you ever want to check time zones, by the way. It's fantastic. CST is 2 hours ahead, so CST would be 9 a.m. EST would be 10 a.m. And MST, I think, is the other one. Okay, so same one. Nice. Yes. I started setting, like, time aside in order for me to do writing that I won't be interrupted. So weekdays, this actually means I stay up later, and weekends, I actually wake up earlier. Which is very interesting to me. So I've been already waking up for a while now at 7 a.m., which allows me an hour to stay in bed. This is literally my reasoning for waking up at 7. It lets me stay in bed for an hour to fuck around on my phone, deal with my daily stuff for Lingo Legend, and get orders going. Ooh, bye stream streak. Nice, Wolfie. It allows me to do my Lingo Legend stuff. I can log into Finch and do that stuff, and then I can read for a bit. Before I check on Lingo Legend again, I meditate for a little bit, and then I can get up, and by then my ADHD meds have kicked in, and I actually want to get out of bed. I wanted to ask a question for Minecraft by KFBB did already or not. Oh, go ahead. Shoot. What do I need to be doing right now? I've been running on autopilot. I need to find cobwebs. I should have been down underground to do that. Cobwebs. We're literally just gonna go straight on down. I should drink my tea. Delicious. Nice iced tea. I made a big old picture of it. I've had a nice picture for a while that I originally started using for cold brew, but now I just use it for whatever I need at the moment. It's got like a nice mesh filter on it. It's fantastic. So I can use it for cold brew. I can use it for tea. It's great. It's also like half meant for infused waters. I haven't done that. I'm kind of tempted to do that at some point. I want to look into that. Oh, I could do an infused sparkling soda. Oh my. I should do that. That sounds so good. IS and DMs. Alrighty. Give me a second and I can look. Or actually, let me just pause. It's single player. I can pause. There we go. And let me... Because I'm dual streaming to both Twitch and YouTube, it is very annoyed every time I have to re-pull up YouTube Twitch chat. What was I... That's what I was doing. It's nighttime, so I can not be in phantom mode. We're gonna take the compass, the cracked stone brick, and cobwebs, which gives us a beautiful explorer's compass. And this is basically just a non-cheaty / locate command. And we're gonna look for, I think it's dungeon from Dungeon Crawl. Search. 600. Out of all the seeds that I need it to be nearby, it's the one that it isn't. But we're already an hour in. So this is my fate now. This is my fate. For context on why this is annoying, if you are new around here, I level, and so do the mobs around me. That's why this head is level 0. By the time you get 1,000 blocks out, everything's level 10. So, you can now understand a little bit of why, yeah, they're already level 1, of why this is a problem. Oh, lag! Hydrate, yes, I will hydrate. Hydration, we're gonna grab the water, take a sip of tea. Take a sip of agua. Thank you for the daily cranberries, Wolfie. And we're just gonna try, is this a village? Please tell me it is. Yes, it is. Okay, I'm taking refuge. Do you have a stone cutter? This is a stone cutter house. Yes, please, gimme. We have actually useful stone cutter, which makes these far better. I don't have logs to show that. I'm gonna come over here. Don't mind me, everybody out here. Don't mind me, all the goofly googlies out here. I'm just gonna come cut down this little tree here. That's artichoke. I don't know why there is a Wikipedia sitting in my brain for everything in this mod pack, but it is. It's there. Anyway, you can get 6 planks per log from the stonecutters in this mod pack. Mew, why does your character look like his hands are up in the air like that? When do you ever go to... Whoa! Whenever you go in the main menu... Oh, because... I have a resource pack called Better Animations, and when you're flying in creative mode in it, or if you're, like, not near a block, it starts doing a flying animation. And so it thinks the character on the left-hand side, this is thanks to Essential, it thinks it's flying, and so it's paused in a flying animation. So that is what's going on there. I can't fight you in here, I'm gonna attack the people. Can y'all come out here, please? Because these, unfortunately, have a sweeping. And I do not want to be tracked down by the... Y'all suck. Y'all suck so much. Let me be. Let me be. I want to break free. Everett! Forget anything else we've been doing. We no longer need meat bundles. We don't need anything. We now have infinite steak. I've seen this only once before by pure accident because I killed a shit ton of cows and happened to get lucky and have it drop. This is literally just infinite. Oh, the humanity? What? Oh, is it a bogged or something out there? Yeah. We good? Nope. Of course we're not. Did it drop brown dye? What gave me brown dye? Alright, everybody's freaking out. Can you let me sleep for like 2 seconds? Please. Thank you. And that's what I get for sleeping outside. But yeah, the beef literally just refills. It's great. So yeah, we're perfect. We're perfect for this. I need not more. Maybe some coal. What random stuff do I have that I not need? That. We want to keep that with us. I will smelt the rest of the iron when we get to the place we want. That's literally just a slime ball. This is the Church of Slime, apparently. I don't know what's going on here. This is a ruin. I love the everlasting steak, but hate the cooldown so much. That's fair. Thankfully, it's not too big of a deal. We also have meat bundles. I don't think we'll need much more often. If I'm eating a lot, then the cooldown shouldn't be too big of an issue for me. Alright, we need a level more. We're gonna do speed. A lot. Because theoretically, the faster I run, the less stamina I'm taking, therefore, the less food I'm eating. We still have another 300 this way. Lovely! I literally just want to see if this works. I literally just want to see if this is an accurate method. Because I could have just done this in creative. I could have. I really could have. I probably should have. I would have. But we're not doing that. I gotta head off, but have an amazing, awesome rest of your stream, you. And hopefully see you tomorrow. I know I will. Yep, because I kind of have to because I'm hosting. I gotta get this server up and running and make sure everybody knows what's going on. I'm so excited for— there it is! I'm so excited for everyone to see in Season 3. It's gonna be great. The world is so cool. And I already got it set up so we have the we can just head straight on over to the Badlands and Jungle if we want. I'm gonna talk about this for a second. The Badlands and Jungle and the seed we picked out for Patch and SMP Season 3 is ridiculously far away. There's technically a really small jungle, but there is no Badlands nearby. So, I already planned that we were going to have a few warp stones. This is not the normal waystones we have in this. It hasn't updated to 26.1. So we have an alternate mod. Another question is, do I have to stream tomorrow? Nope. Not at all. I am going to be recording in the morning because I am not streaming at 7 a.m. But I will be still streaming tomorrow night on the SMP. I had already planned to use warp stones to help with interdimensional travel so you don't have to go through the nether to get to the end, to get to the overworld, to get to the end. So I already planned to have that going on. So I literally just sat down and made sure we had a couple warp stones about the world so we can quickly travel to the jungle and the Badlands. So we're also not loading a bunch of chunks either. And I don't think people want to go or travel the several thousand blocks out to the Badlands. Because it's 2,500 out in the overworld. So divide by 8. That's still some odd 300 in the nether. So I just set up a little warpstone thing that I will leave as a surprise for tomorrow. Because I did decorate it slightly, but in theme. Okay, so what we actually need to do here, and what I should have done first, I never do this, but this is what we need to do. First, we're going to make this my little base of operations. You know what we can do here? We're going to use all the things that I never use when I'm speedrunning this game. We're going to make a little hammer, and make a cozy little hole. I love to wander. It's going to be fantastic. There's mountains to the east, there's oceans and floating islands to the west. We have the same terraforming mods that I have in here, in this mod pack we're playing right now, Terralith and Tectonic. Terralith makes biomes out of the pre-existing blocks in the game. So there's some really cool places you can go to that really fit within the game as it is. And let's do something like this, I suppose. Yeah, that's fine. Brain is not working. I need to do this. And then I can do this. And you know we're actually gonna do this. I'm sorry if I accidentally go as far as possible. I'm determined to explore. No worries, man. Last season we had people going out like 10,000 blocks. I think you'll be fine. The surprises are surprisingly strong for me paying $7, $8 a month for it. We run off of Logic servers. It's not a popular name, but it's fantastic. So I'm paying I think it's about $8 a month. I think it's $8 a month for our modded, like 4GB RAM, 8GB RAM. I think it's a 4GB server. So it's not absolutely chaotic, but it works fantastic for the amount of members we have and the amount of mods we have. My farthest I've gone on a server is 250. Nice. Oh yeah, Tectonic is the other mod. It's a little more subtle. Well, subtle. It makes the oceans deeper and mountains taller, which technically, because of how the Deep Dark is coded, also makes Deep Darks more common, because if the terrain's higher, then it's a lot easier for the Deep Darks to spawn, because it thinks, oh, this is a mountain. And I have enough room to spawn down here. I don't need the other crackstone brick. Literally, I was running around and showing off the mod to Misty. And we were just talking about it. She wasn't looking at my live stream or anything. Like, Discord live stream. And I teleport to an area, because I'm like, oh, is that a village over here? I want to go look at this thing. Is this the jungle? And it teleports me into the ground. And I look down. There's the Deep Dark. Teleport to another area. Oh, hey, there's the Deep Dark. I think already, before the season has even started, I found the Deep Dark 3 times by accident in this world. Now we're just gonna... Oop. And I'm certain it's gonna happen again, because it just will. It's going to. Hi, sir. So they're level 7. It's not a cause for concern, but they are slightly more dangerous than I would hope for. So I think we're gonna upgrade attack speed first and foremost here. Once I hit level 20, I'm gonna need even more levels, but we should be fine until then. Spider over there. There's another skelly that spawned in. There I go. And I'm gonna sound... Every time I take damage, I'm just gonna sound like a cat getting hurt because of the frickin' boots I have. And there's kitty slippers again. Lovely. Don't need... I don't think I can do anything with that. There's more skellies over here. Noted. Out of my face. Thanks. What do you mean you're still hurting me? You're not allowed to do that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. No? You're not allowed to do that. And hopefully it'll start letting me... You suck. Okay. There's definitely a spider spawner around the corner. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm just gonna sit here for a second. Yep. Yep. Alright. Oh, another thing that's going to be immediately clear, and I'm going to try and keep people's attention off of it so I can actually get through the intro and introduce everybody as we get started. Because it's very obvious when you log in. We do have repurposed structures, aka you'll see structures like, for example, the ancient city. The Deep Dark ancient city. You can find it as an ocean ancient city. Or the desert temples can be found in the forest, and it'll be retextured with like oak planks. So there's a lot of different structures we have now, and we also have added... I've made sure people are okay with this first, and I'm gonna have to probably help some people walk through. There are 2 other major terraforming mods I use in this mod pack that, surprisingly, a lot of the mods in this mod pack haven't been updated to newer versions. Incendium and Nullscape have. Incendium adds a lot of new a lot of new content to the Nether. It adds more biomes. It adds several structures. It is a I don't need more food. How am I grabbing this? I will take the extra planks. I love Incendium. It's fantastic, and I'm very excited to see what people's reaction is going to be to the Forbidden Castle. I'm very curious of that reaction. Time to go live in the nut. Yes, exactly. I just picked up all the stuff I didn't want to pick up. We're gonna put this... I need to use these levels. Hold on. Can I upgrade damage yet? Yes. What do? What can do? What won't do? I want to make... I made a bedroll because it's really easy to, but I would like to also make a proper bed down here. Actually, walk forward. Thank you. Okay, that works. Thank you. And I got enough string to make another bed anyway. I'll take more torches. Yes, please. Fortune 1, efficiency. We can use those. That gave me a little bit more coal. We can use that, believe it or not, the fortune pickaxe. You know what? I'm willing to show it off. We're going to show it off for a second. I need some stone to make this work. I will fully speedrun my way into the nether just so I can find the castle and live in one. That's fair. I've been bringing this up and off, but I am going to talk at the beginning and be like, hey, let's hold off on the end for a little bit. I'm going to talk more about that. So with this mod pack, we can actually just upgrade. Is it cobblestone? It's cobblestone. I didn't even need stone. We can just upgrade the pickaxes and upgrade the general tools. So now recipes, I can upgrade it from wood to stone, and from stone with copper into a copper pickaxe, which can be upgraded to iron, to gold, to diamond. So now when you find the overpowered wooden pickaxe, you can actually keep it. It's great. And I want to put this in the corner. Oh, and the other one we have, and the reason why we're going to hold off on the end, is there's also Nullscape. If you know, you know, but long story short, it's a beautiful but very hard to navigate if you're new to it. End terraforming mod. I only just want to get to my new nether home and try not to die. That's so fair. We don't care about pearls. I'm trying hard in my brain to be like, I'm not speedrunning this. Literally all I want to do is get to a point where we can make an XP farm. Preferably as overpowered as possible. Or as not necessarily overpowered. I'm not sure the wording I am trying to achieve here. Ridiculous, I think, is appropriate. As ridiculous of an XP farm as we can achieve. Currently, we're rocking with 1, 2. I haven't cleared the other way. 3. There wasn't one down here. 4, 5. 5 different spawners. You know, I'll take string still. And the iron. I do have enough. We can make a backpack. So let's do that. I need a certain amount of string to make the backpack, and I just absolutely failed that part. Oh, because I have the kitty slippers! Also, we don't want creeper XP farm. I do not want to deal with creepers. Long-term play, it could be really helpful, but short-term, not so much. There we go. There's another guy right there. Boop. Keep myself as safe as possible. More health. Is there one hiding in here? Nope. But there is this. Critical Sunder. You know, I'm not going to worry about the protection. Don't care about it. There's a lot of things going in my inventory that I don't need them to be, and I keep forgetting the things I want. This is a bucket. Get out of here, boy! That cow. Can't upgrade that. Can't upgrade that. We upgrade attack speed. Are you a secret? Yes! Oh, I'm so happy I learned about these. Oh. Okay, noted. I don't need it as it stands, but noted. And then no spawners back here. Don't need clay. We're still working through the meat bundles. There's creeper hiding up here. There's a lot of creepers around, actually. Are they just not going to explode because I have the kitty slippers on? That wasn't phantom mode. Okay. Phantom membranes can be used. I do have a mod which lets me get some stuff to make being a phantom easier. Origin accessibilities, I believe. But for some reason the umbrella's really finicky or something to that extent. It doesn't like me. At the very least, I can say that much. Oh, that's why. There we go. That's why the creepers are spawning. And we'll upgrade speed. That goes down. That is jukebox room. Stretch. Okay. We kill creeper. Get rid of that. Okay. Big stretch. Big stretch to the right. My VTuber really doesn't like that. And to the left. And then arms back and then forward. And all the way. Stretch hamstring. Very good. Very good to do after long sitting, especially cross-leg sit. Because I can never quite get rid of the habit as much as I try. So instead I shall simply readjust my hamstrings every frickin' day. Okay. So that leads to the next floor. We're not going to worry about that. I'm just going to use all the spawners from this one. So that makes... There's 5 in total originally. 6, 7. 8. Which is perfect. That works out. I can do that. So my current thought process... I want to actually shift these all to the side. Spawners are an interesting thing. They're finicky and not at the same time. We're gonna take this. Boop. And I have enough stuff now, I believe. Oh, also, chest. I love showing that off. I love it so much. I believe, if I'm correct, backpack? Is it the opposite way? Is it the exact opposite of what I've just shown? Yes. Backpack, and then we're gonna upgrade it to iron. Iron to back up of that. Back it back. Back it back. And now we have a decent area to do stuff in. There we go. We do it like so. Like it so. I do want to make an anvil for those 2 pickaxes. So I can merge those to get... I don't have enough XP for that. I can do this, however. And then we go spawner. And I don't have anything back home. So that's a problem on my part. Sophisticated backpacks, my beloved. Wait, there's more. Oh wait, I can do more. Hold on. I can actually show this off. I do have enough. Because I love both of them way too much, we also have useful backpacks. So you can put a useful backpack in a sophisticated backpack. Because useful backpacks get overpowered very quickly. A small backpack is pretty small by backpack size, by backpack mod standards. A medium backpack, however, is the size of a double chest. And a large backpack is the size of 2.5 chests. And it's the same recipe. In order to make a large backpack, 2.5 portable double chests, you need 12 wool, 12 leather, and 1 piece of string. And that's it. So that's why I have both mods in the mod pack. I need to think out things. We need to first make an actual room. I'm gonna assume this as some sort of collection chamber. We'll figure out the logistics later. 1, 2, 3. And then from here we'll work it out. And expand as needed. Useful backpacks is also part of the reason this amalgamation is and will stay at 1.19.2. Also because the other overpowered mod in this, tool leveling. The tool leveling table also hasn't updated past this version, and just a bunch of the fantastic mods that make this overpowered just haven't updated. So spawners like 4 blocks in between. I'm gonna assume this as a center strip. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. A spawner right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're gonna repeat this process on the other side. Oop. There we go. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. And I'll clear out any inefficiencies later. 2, 3, 4. There we go. Thank you, Gravel. You're fantastic. Not really. That was pure sarcasm. At least I don't have to move as much for these spawners. I can just kind of plop them over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I need another separator. Because otherwise it's going to be the water's going to be probably a little bit awkward for this. We're going to go boop. You know what, we're going to leave that right there. I'm probably going to need to again. And I'm going to need a shovel. Good song. This is one of the few things I've been willing to learn. I have been extremely adverse to learning redstone. However, in surprising contrast, I have been very interested in the general Minecraft mechanics and how to exploit and use them to the best of my abilities. So spawners, really interesting to me. Redstone, I do not want to touch it. I am afraid. No thank you. Too big for brain, don't want to deal with it. It's the same reason I do not touch the crate mod. I have not touched it, I'm not going to. You can put it in the mod packs all you want, I will do everything in my power to avoid it. There is a reason I have rarely, if ever, well, I have, played mod packs that I have not made myself. Where? Oh. Hi. Where are y'all spawning from? And how are y'all spawning from? This is a spider spawner. I'm not even sure. Do I want spider spawners in this? Could I just make it 6 if I'm not using the spider spawners? Y'all are still XP. Upgrade that to 2. Upgrade that. To 2. They spawn from something. And then we need to do the second area. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the 5th one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, very, very much lots of stuff. Lots of stuff that I do not need. That's how I was for a while, but then I found the create food mod, and now I'm forced myself to learn it because it itches the need to make very good food. Nice. I discovered I had free will today. I had deviled eggs for lunch. I had deviled eggs for lunch. They were fantastic. 6 deviled eggs was pushing it, 3 eggs. But it was still delicious. It was so good. I'm very happy. For some reason, I am just I am oddly good. I don't want to say uncharacteristically. I am strangely good at making eggs. And I don't know why. I don't know out of everything this is the power I have. I am really good at making eggs, and I don't know why this is the case. It could absolutely be. When I was in middle school, I don't know why I decided this. Maybe because I don't know why I decided this, and I stuck to it even after I didn't want to anymore. Also, hello on YouTube chat. Hi, welcome. We're making a spawner, because I want to see the best way to do it. Magic powers. Every day for middle school, my 7th grade year, I think it was, I made myself a scrambled egg for breakfast. I don't know why, because by the end of the year, I absolutely hated doing this. But I did do this for the majority of that school year. I did not touch eggs for a long time after that. But apparently, this has just given me some secret superpower, because no matter the kind of eggs I touch, I do them almost perfectly or perfectly on the first try. Poached eggs? I got it perfect on the first try. I make jammy eggs fantastically. I can do ramen eggs, I can do poached eggs, even like the fancy Japanese tornado egg, I got it correct on the 3rd try. And the only reason I got it incorrect the first 2 tries is I was using too little eggs for the size of pan I was using. So I literally just had to change the size of pan I was using after I realized that, and I made it perfect. So I don't know why this is a random ass superpower I have with eggs, but I have a superpower of eggs, and I don't know what it is. I really don't know, and this is exacerbated by the fact, somehow by pure accident, 2 years in a row now for April Fools, I have posted about eggs. Last year's April Fools, I didn't even intend for this to be April Fools, I just thought it'd be funny to post on it. I joked about organic wither roses, aka I went to kill a wither and then just took a shit ton of eggs with me and spawned in a ridiculous amount of chickens. And I mean, technically, it's organic. If you're pushing the bends of reality for a second. Yeah, sticking with it. And then this year, I had a giant egg backstock from one of my farms, and I had to pull it out of the chest, and I stood back from the chest in order to make a giant singular pile of eggs, because if you're like dropping a bunch of stuff in Minecraft, it will all conform into like this one very pretty pile if you do it enough, right? Eggs do this even better. And so I just had one giant egg. And that's what got posted on April Fools. And that's the first short I've had in a while that seriously popped off. And then for some reason, the carrots one did even better. I had a villager carrot farm in Season 2 of Passion SMP. And apparently it did so well. They had thousands of carrots after I had pulled them from the farm. And because I pulled them in the farm, they were all in these little cubicles next to each other. They started trying to breed and trade carrots. And so these villagers, because of my texture pack, look like foxes, are trading each other thousands of carrots. And I'm like, stop breeding, stop breeding. Stop it. And I walk over to one of the villagers. I also had, and we're going to have this in Season 3 as well, we have a mod that names all the villagers. It just gives them a random name. And I walk over to a villager. You greedy fuck, Afton. Yeah, foxes. It's a mod called We Don't Bite. It's very cute. I love it very much. And it also changes the pillagers to polar bears. I need to see if they've updated. I know Vanilla Experience Plus updated, because I have that, I'm pretty sure. I didn't check if that one updated. There's a lot of things that haven't yet. So some of the bigger mods that we're using, important mods that we're using in Season 3, we kind of have to, or Season 2, we kind of have to wait for them to update. One of which was storage drawers, which was fantastic. So we gotta wait and see if that updates. Hopefully it should. And this started as a joke because I found out it existed during Season 1 and then added it, and somehow it became part of the branding, or like it's in the iceberg of Passion SMP. The Blahaj, aka the IKEA shark. Because in Season 1 of Passion SMP, I learned there was a texture pack that changed your totem to look like the Blahaj, and it even changed the animation of how you hold it. It's a 3D IKEA shark that you hold, and it looks like your Minecraft character is holding it. Like, actually, it curls up in your hands. It's very adorable. And in one of the first promos I did, I was holding the IKEA shark, and that's what got the most attention, and I shit you not, that is... Lilac has directly told me Lilac was the first person to join, aside from me and my mod Pumpkin. The IKEA shark is what got her attention and made her want to join. We did also have it in Season 2, and I am keeping an eye out for it to update for Season 3. Which is why we brought this in at the end of Season 2, so I wouldn't have to make people update the mod pack so often. Because we started updating and adding a fair amount of mods towards the end of the season. We will be updating the mod pack monthly, so it's something I can go through. We can go check, okay, these are some of the mods people wanted, have these updated, what mods are currently working for us, what are some things we seriously need to get rid of, like right now. And also see, hey, could this maybe be a cool idea? And so that was really nice. Also, I forget how freaking long it takes to excavate all of this. Thankfully, this is an old enough version. In newer versions, the hammer mod that I'm using, just hammers, it will not destroy the dirt for me. I'm not currently collecting the dirt because it's like, oh, you're not using the right tool, but it will still break it for me. Newer versions, it doesn't do that. I wish it did. I get why it doesn't. I wish it did. I really do. So the fun part about this, and I'm probably gonna have to take away some of my efficiency for this, unless we want to be here a really long time. Spawners do better. I learned this from the actual Minecraft wiki. I'm pretty sure you can just go straight up see this in the spawner trivia. Most farms will tell you to dig like 4 blocks below, right? That is or like 3 blocks below. It's 4 blocks out in all directions and 3 blocks below each. I don't know why I filled in all that. That was not necessary. The wiki actually states you can make it even more efficient by also digging an additional 3 or 4 blocks underneath, which gets the mobs out of the detection range of the spawner. So like we're gonna do 10 block. All the way up here. Let's say the detection range is like here. Whoa, I'm a mob. Spawner still sees me here while I'm dying in the kill chamber, so it can't spawn more mobs in. If I fall all the way down here, spawner can't see me. More mobs spawn faster. That is the fastest TLDR I could possibly give on that. So literally just dig a few blocks more underneath your spawners. Thank me later. Like the tiniest piece of trivia, but I hold it so dearly. But I may have to compromise that just to see how well this does. Because I'm already compromising some amount of space here. We can separate out the spawners a lot, but you have to be within so many blocks of a spawner for it to work at all. And I'm thinking actually... You have to be within like 16 blocks of a spawner or something. You have to be fairly close to it. And I still need to dig up another 4 blocks if we want to keep that. Give a fox a fire aspect sword. Cook chicken farm. Real. You know what? I'd much rather dig deeper than higher. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna go start placing some of the spawners. Because this is gonna make it way easier on me, and then I don't have to deal with it later. And then I can dig down, which is way easier. It's just far easier. What? Why y'all spawning? Yeah, I'm not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that. You silly billies. More health. I gotta take something off of my offhand. And welcome to this mod pack. And welcome to me being extra overpowered. Oh, you're kidding me. Yoink. Yep. I love that yoink is such a well-known thing. It's such a great word. I was writing today, and I just had this moment of realization. I just kind of look away from my screen. I'm just like, yoink is the past tense of yank, and I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this anymore. I don't know how to feel about that. Like, yeah, it makes complete sense. That is what it is. It's just interesting. It's just interesting. Yeet and yoink. That is an even better prospect, actually. I'm not sure which one I like more. Because I imagine historians are gonna go back and go, oh yeah, it's yank. Yoink is yank. But currently, yeet and yoink no, what would be the... I feel like ye is also a past tense. What would be the current tense of yink? What would be the present tense? Or ye... What would be the present tense of yeet? Is it yink? Would it be yink? Because yeet is like, you throw it. What's the present tense of yeet? Yoit? I'm not sure. That is a question. That is very curious. Yeah! It is a question. You know, we're gonna do this and make my life easier. That should keep it from spawning. That should keep other things from spawning. I'm also gonna place one in the very center right here. Shears can go up there. Pickaxes go up there. There we go. Suddenly, I have inventory. It's great. Okay. Oop. I'm trying to think what it could be. Could it be the... What even spawned you? Okay. Boop. And then walk through wall. Very slowly. Walkie walk. And that should keep it just fine. And there should still be another spawner out here, because there are 3 of them out here. God damn it, cat. You meow into the mic? No? I'm not a sellout yet? No? I'm not surprised he doesn't meow too much. Alright. Cat acquired, and no longer banging on my door. Run through the walls. I'm in your goddamn... Oh, that's a person. I'm in your goddamn walls! The fastest way for me to run through this is just a sprint jump, but it's also very detrimental. I might go to bed so that I can make my migraine go away and be awake early. Alrighty, bye-bye, have a good night. Where there was spawner here. A spider spawner. I really don't want to deal with the spider spawner. I'm willing to sacrifice not using it. The spider spawners are hell to deal with. Good night, bye-bye. Have a good night. I will send you all the stuff so you can get set up tomorrow. Boop. Okay. I shouldn't have closed this off because now I need to open it back up. Hey. Oh, there you go, Billy Bob. There's your stream. I guess I got my streak back. Yeah. I swore you were there for the hardcore one last week. Because I remember editing that part. Boop. I'm still on what is the present tense of yeet. I'm scrambling for that answer. I would love for it to be another piece of slang, but I can't think of what it would be. I am still on that. I'm looking. Okay, hold on. We're gonna look. We're gonna look. We're gonna find out. We're gonna see. What could this be? There's slang dictionary. I know there's one. Is it Wiktionary? Urban Dictionary. That's what I'm looking for. We're gonna look up yeet and see what it gives me. Like, yeah. Yeetus. So ye is the present tense. Yeetus could be past tense. No, it's just an more elegant version. Okay. Yeetus deletus, yeet-haw, yeeting, yeeters, yeetus the fetus, yeetable, yeeted. So, yeet... I feel like yeet's a past tense, though. This freaking cat, I swear. I still feel like yeet is a past tense. Or, I feel like yeet... Yeah, yeet's a past tense. Are there any words like yeet that are a present tense? Because I can't think of any either. Because yeet is not your... Is it doing the action, or is it the action has happened? That is a good that is the question. Is it yeet or be yeeted? That is the question. There are many jokes I hold back. Apparently that was not one of them. Apparently that one could not be contained. It broke out of containment. SCPYEET. If I was smart, I would have come up with the binary digits for each of those letters, but I could not come up with it off the top of my head. If this becomes a video, I will put it in editing. And this is gonna take forever, but I just want to know, is this a good XP farm? Again, I could have done this in creative, but I did not. Me and my friend are almost done with 100 days. Hell yeah! Nice! Been a minute since... I know the last time I did 100 days was fucking... It was the cave horror project, and that's a hot minute ago. That was freaking... I should have just done 100 days. I don't know why I did 200. I know I did 200. It was for 200 subscribers. But... I don't know why I did 200. Oh, I forgot I still have a... Why do I have a day counter on Amalgamation? Why did I add a... Because I did 100 days for the magic update. I forgot about that. I forgot that's why it's in here. I forgot. Okay, noted. And I am already out of space again. Yoink. Yeet. Did I yeet it? This is why I feel like yeet is a past tense, not a present tense. Because I can say, I yeet. Maybe it is a present tense, because I yeeted it sounds more better than I yeet it. Yeah, I guess it is a present tense. Okay. My mind has been succinctly, changed? That's not the word I want. Altered? There's a word I want here, and it's not coming to me. It's gone. It's off in the wind. It's off on the breeze. It took a one-way ticket to Timbuktu. It went to Istanbul, not Constantinople. Every now and again, I pull a reference from the ether, and I'm not sure why it occurs, but it does most certainly occur. There's gonna be one of these that isn't. Oh. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to do this, so let's make it right now before I forget. The reason I want to do two waystones is you have to be so much within a spawner for it to work, so I feel like the best way to do so is simply make a platform above or below it. I feel like in this case it's going to be better above it. And we're just going to make a little platform to keep ourselves safe. You know, we have enough. I have enough iron bars. I could probably make some iron bars with this. Make some windows. I don't need windows though. We have free cam. We have free cam, and I need to not have light. And I'm not dealing with tinted glass. This is merely a theory that I want to confirm, and I do not have more cobblestone. I merely wish to proclaim that I am right. Because I am a wise better, and I am not going to bet on something that I can't confirm. I know it to be true. Your win rate will be 100% if you know you're gonna win. I've blown a couple of my friends' minds proclaiming that. Not necessarily like that exact proclamation. I think that's the correct usage. Not that necessarily that exact proclamation, but divulging, because I prefer that. We're gonna go with that. I like the fancy word. I like divulging that I only bet on something or add to something if I know I'm right about it. And that's because it does make me appear as like a know-it-all smartass that always wants to be right. But it's just, I feel like it's the smarter thing to do. If you don't know you're right, don't add it. Or if you want to add it and don't know you're right, look it up. That's what I do. Or if you're not sure and can't do so in the moment, add it and be like, hey, I don't know about this. This is something I saw. I would like to add. Clear communication. It's great. Try for free today. That should be all fine. I still need to cover up these. I gotta make a quote channel. I gotta make a quote bot. Because that's certainly one of them. Clear communication. Try for free today. You know it's late, and I'm getting tired because I'm starting to laugh my own stupid fucking jokes. Because that by far is absolutely fucking one of them. Were you spiders? You were spiders. It's always spiders. Why is it always spiders? Yes, you are. We gonna offhand take. Yeet. I still like that yoink is the past tense of yank. I still prefer that far more. So that should be fine. I think that's all of them then. We're gonna move these to the front here then. Because I still like making this as one thing. That it's gonna go out here instead of making it a center. That feels a lot better. And that means I don't have to do nearly as much digging. Alright, so now we're just on the Eternal Snake. Fantastic. What did the T-Rex use to cut wood? A dinosaur. I like that. There's some really fucking stupid... I'd have to find the video I know exactly which video happened, and that's a lie. There was one pun Pumpky pulled from a pun book he owns. This is like a 2-year-old video of one of my hardcores. This was pre-PSMP. This was before I even did the cave horror hardcore. This is way before any of that. This is old content. And we were sitting in call while I was doing the hardcore. I was streaming it. He had a pun book out, and there's one I really liked because it was a wordplay pun. I have a feeling it had something to do with tents. I think it was intense, something about camping. But I like wordplay puns. I am a big fan of it. If you can make a pun off of wordplay, it's great. I love it. There is no better. Simply make clever joke with word and I am happy. Like, oh my... I got 2 great fucking jokes that happened on Easter. Me, Sugar Cookie, my best friend who I refer to as such on streams. Me, Sugar Cookie, and my cousin were hanging out in my room, and I have one of those blankets on my bed where, like, it's a really soft one, and if you put your hand back and forth across it, it kind of, like, changes it a little bit, you know? And so my cousin's, like, pushing her phone back and forth across it, and just goes, digital footprint. It's like, look, guys, I made a digital footprint. And Sugar Cookie just, like, walked out of the room. We had to hold her back, like, no. It's fine. You get used to it. Well, I hope she's used to it. She's been around 16 years. I gotta update that in my brain. It's not 15 years anymore. No. I've known her 16 years. I think that's a very interesting thing. Because a majority of my friends I've known for a long-ass time. All the people I currently talk to, I have known for a long time. A minimum of 5 years. And it's just absolutely insane to me that people don't have long-term friends like that. Or at least seemingly so, based off the general social media consensus. Granted, very biased, but... that is a very biased source of info. But every time I bring up, like, oh yeah, my friend of 16 years, because day 1 kindergarten. And people are absolutely amazed by it. I'm like, we just keep hanging out. I don't know what to tell you. It does also help we both have ADHD, so every now and again we remember each other exist and hang out a shit ton, and then we get busy with our lives, forget for about a month or 2. Something or other reminds us of the other person, and then we hang out a shit ton again. Is the cycle that happens. And it is a fantastic cycle. It is genuinely great, though. I love it. What we need to do from here now. I should probably... This is too far down for that. We need to start doing the waterways for this. So the center line is here. So let's consider this the cutoff. And I'll do more of this in a second. So this is going to be a little bit tiered because we're only using 6 instead of the full 8 because I don't want to bother with these spider spawners. Thunder. Lovely. Why did my brain automatically start stimming Welcome to the Jungle? I do not know. Oh, Blood Moon, great. Thank you so much, I really do appreciate that. what I should have done first is this, to check how far out that goes. So we can do that. And work accordingly. Or if I need that... I need that to be opposite. So we're gonna do 3... I'm just gonna make a bunch of signs or a bunch of fence gates. We're just gonna do that. I certainly have the logs for it. Or can I do that in the... No. Can? Yes! Good, 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 good. Very good, very good, very good. 4, 1, 4, 1, 10 plus 9, 19. Welcome to how I do math. It works. It doesn't work. It doesn't work when I don't consider all the variables. I have plenty of fence gates or whatever I want to do now. That's great. Cool. Okay, and this is when I need to make a water source. Because I will regret it if I do not. And we do 1 here, and it was 3 off on this side. Boop, 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 boop. And we'll see how the center handles that, and I will fix accordingly depending on how it does. I think we should be able to do so fairly easily. I have a feeling. So yeah, it does do that. However, I'm thinking, that doesn't change anything. I don't know why I thought it would. I think then I'm just gonna move all of these, including this one, down a block. And that should fix our current problem. Boop, boop. You're not supposed to go that way, you're supposed to go that way. Thank you. No, that way. So I get rid of all of these. I probably should have used the hammer. And now I can get rid of those pesky corners. There we go. And now we can continue and do basically the same thing for the second half of this. I went about 6 blocks down from the spawner. We're currently 3, so we'll do 3, 4, 5, 6. And work from there. And we're already reaching like the 2-hour mark. Jeez. What? What? Why? Did I place an extra? Oh, it got rid of the fence gate. Okay. Good thing we have extras. No! You suck. Oh my god. Thank you. It didn't even let me. Thank you. Please. Thank you. We're fast approaching 2 hours, which is when I usually cut off stream. However, we're literally this close to the end of it. So I have a feeling we're gonna try and push through this. We're reaching the second floor of this now because I forgot where we are. So this is definitely gonna cut into some other stuff, but it's fine. We can deal with it as it comes. It's not cutting into too much, seemingly. That is, however, just seemingly. There's an Enderman, that's very upset. And that's still gotta go down the block. And there goes that. Lovely. What do? Not do. Very happy we stumbled upon a shit ton of iron early on, because that has made this very easy to do, and I don't have to be dealing with this with iron, with stone hammers instead of iron. Because, oh dear, that would have sucked. And then... yeah, we'll go. I will deal with the water momentarily. Really? Why are there so many of you right here, by the way? That's not fun. Thank you. Why? Okay, there is no spawner here. This is just a normal room. Cool. So I don't gotta worry about it. And we will have to dip the bottom portion of this, but that's fine. We're just gonna basically copy everything that's going on up there, except we're gonna make a little kill tunnel. And there I go. 'Cause it's bound to happen. There we go. Yeah, Everlasting Me is fantastic for being a phantom, by the way. This is great. There is not a worry in my brain. I'm gonna tentatively call this safe and just do this. And we'll see how that affects things. Yep. Nope. You suck. Let it be known, my PC has not calmed down throughout the entirety of this. Still, granted, I am streaming to 2 different platforms, but... and running modded Minecraft. You know, we literally don't need a load. Like, that would be why. That would be exactly why. That exact reason. We're just gonna move that down. Yeah. We're just gonna put that to... I don't need to be doing that. We're just gonna put that down to like a third of what it was. Double check that. Okay, 2. And we fill in accordingly. 2. Which shouldn't create too much of an issue. It's a little less than the prior layer. Which means I shouldn't need to do as much. And we can get rid of these. I'm gonna have a fun time getting rid of the torches, but that's alright. I'm not even gonna keep this world. I do not care about this after we've confirmed that I am correct. But I'm not gonna let my inventory get all cluttered. Think about how best to do the thing I wish to do. Idea. I have it in the brain. Yeah, that's why I called it tentatively safe. But I do have to cut a little bit of that, but that's fine. I'm gonna go all the way to the edge here, and then we're gonna make Blood Moon sets. Great, fantastic. I appreciate it very much. You know, we will use that 3rd waystone, because it means less for me to do. We're gonna do... Yeah, I'm gonna go for yeah. 5, 6, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Well, that's a lot. That's not what I need. I need to do this. Please, thank you. That is actually a long cooldown on the steak now I'm looking at it. So if I take a lot of damage, it's not as useful. There's another blood moon. It's not as useful if I'm taking a huge amount of damage, probably. So even if I do find an everlasting stake, I'll probably want to have more in long-term playthroughs. Is there more below me? Technically, yes, but also technically, no. That should be more than enough. Remember, these are extremely overpowered mofos, so the farther I drop them, the better. And I'm thinking... Need to dig this out one more. Chamber? Chambered. Okay, yeah. We're sticking with it. We're gonna go back up to spawner. I'm going to create... Is that enough? Yes. That is more than enough, actually. And then do another... Oh, beautiful. Okay. Noted. I forgot you also did crafting changes. Great. And then we're going back to chamber. We're gonna do a couple trapdoors. And a couple slabs for ultimate safety, because I'm tired of baby zombies coming through here. All my time during testing this, they do it. It sucks. I hate it. It's annoying. And now we can come back to spawner. And we're gonna seal this. This is why I wanted to stay on just a little bit longer, because I knew we were literally this close to finishing it. Patch the hole. There we go. Nope. Get rid of that. Change it out. Also there? Yes, it is. Change it out. Thank you. And I want to stand right here for but a moment. I don't need any more infinite water sources, so I'm more than happy to clean that up. And clean it up just a step further to make sure we have no issues going on right here. And that's going to take forever to fall, but it's fine. So now, once I remove the torches, theoretically, we have a beautifully functioning spawner. I am going to come over here and steal these. Probably shouldn't have stolen the ones that actually have mobs next to them. But whatever. Actively, not actually. Bleh. There we go. Full double chest of cobblestone from that. Jeez. Oh. Okay. I'm gonna craft another 2 claws for this, because I'm imagining these are gonna probably break on me pretty soon. Beautiful. And now there's literally not else left to do but handling the torches. I handle them correctly, that is. There we go, that starts spawning. Run over to the other side, do the same process. Nope. What I should do. Nope. I'm trying to stand on a block, but I can't do that, and then I'm trying to break a block, and I can't do that. We do this. Don't break the spawner. That's the one thing I can't fix. And then this one, we just fail the jump. What? You suck. Can I not walk through spawners? I would imagine I can. Yeah, I can. So I don't know why you're being annoying. And get rid of the torch that way. Ooh, there we go. And now all these are working. And if I come stand in this spot and make sure this is all nice and lit up, and I'm going to go down to chamber it and light it up as well. Spawner. That is not the place I want to be. XP farm. There we go. Now, these should all be working independently and in large part spawning on their own. I could do more area between these to get better spawns, but all in all, given like AFK time, this is far from bad. It could definitely be better. Absolutely, 100%. That guy has a backpack. This would be even better if I had an insane amount of spawners. I don't know if it would be more efficient if we started stacking them one on top of the other. But it's doing pretty well right now. It'd probably be better if I did have the 2 extra. But we're still getting a fairly good amount per minute. I'd estimate a good 5 to 10 per minute, it seems like. I don't know what you're trying to attack. There's nothing there. So let's go down to chamber. Yeah. It's a fairly safe farm. I don't have to worry about too much. I don't have to wait too long for a good amount of XP. Because I'm a phantom, the drops aren't a huge problem either. I can just go steal them up like that. I'd say this is a fairly good success. I don't know if it's successful enough for me to warrant doing a hardcore with it. But this is successful enough. I will probably use this to some extent. I don't know if this footage is going to end up on main channel or second channel. I currently do not know that. I have a feeling, I know for a fact this VOD will go up on the main channel, or the second channel. I think I will do another like mini amalgamation how-to of the options for XP farms within amalgamation. Because this is an option. You could absolutely go out into the most dangerous area, being as careful as possible to get level 50 skeletons and literally have one spawner and have it be infinitely better than this. But in a hardcore setting, that is not safe. Chickens are very good, but they are slow and, granted, they give a fair amount of food, inefficient. Unless you, for some reason, come across a chicken spawner. I think the best harmony of all that, which I still have not actively tried, and I don't think I'd have to do an actual series in order to do this if I wanted to attempt it in survival like this. In the Nether, there is a structure from Explorify called Black Spirals. I obsessed over these in early amalgamation because they are filled to the brim with netherite. Not so much anymore, but they are still a fairly good source of it. One of their spawners is a hoglin spawner. You can see where I'm going with this. Hoglin spawners, good XP if you find a way to kill them safely in a spawner type fashion like this. It's also good food, good XP, without so much of the danger, and it's in a continuous fashion. Because I can't think of a single thing that would have a chicken spawner. Or a piglin spawner. I can't think of something that is a spawner that also gives you food, aside from the hoglins. Hoglins are the only thing I can think of, and that's only because it's a modded instance. Like, let's go down. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think this is absolutely worth it. Yeah, that's just worth it, period. Point blank. Some of these guys have enchants which you have to be careful of. But otherwise, this is great. Oh, that could have been influenced by Blood Moon. I didn't think about that one. Excuse me? There we go. It's being a little silly. Boop, boop, boop. Nice. I would say this successful. Fairly much so. So I think I'll leave that there. And then, if I do make a video out of this, I can make this the screenshot. You know what? I'm gonna update the VOD picture to this. Now I got a nice little nifty screenshot of it. I did a completely different one for the thumbnail. I might honestly keep that one though. I might keep that one. That one looks cooler because I have a bunch of zombies in it. It's the vibes. This is just survival. Alright. Let me actually close off so I can go to bed at a decent time so I can get up in 9 hours. Because that's what I gotta do. That's what's gonna happen. So tomorrow will be the first day of Passionate SMP Season 3. We'll be streaming at 7 p.m. By that point, I should have some things going. I will not be streaming the very start of the SMP, because I'm not going to stream at 7 a.m. No, thank you. I'm barely recording at 7 a.m. But we will be streaming the first day, and you will see the beginning of the SMP the following week. There will be a video up at 12 p.m. tomorrow before the stream. You can get notifications if you're here on YouTube, watching from YouTube. If not, for those people on Twitch, there is, of course, a panel down below for YouTube, or !YT works as well. Or just go to the Discord and you get notifications for basically everything over there. So I think with all that said and done, I believe that is it. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.